Beloved, let us not be ignorant of the devices of those who leech the life from others, for such has been their craft from the dawn of your existence. They cloak themselves in the garb of necessity, their words sweet as honey, but their intent bitter as wormwood. From your first cries they sought to mold your strength to their gain, wielding your vitality for their purposes. Emotional manipulation is a cunning and insidious force. It operates quietly, like a serpent, slithering through the tall grass, striking when least expected. Those who wield this weapon are skilled in twisting your emotions, turning your own heart against you. They mask their intentions with concern or affection, but beneath their kind words lies a deliberate strategy to bind you to them. At first their manipulation is subtle, almost imperceptible. They might exaggerate their need for your support, making you feel indispensable to their well-being. Their crises become your emergencies, and their tears demand your immediate comfort. Gradually you begin to shoulder their burdens as if they were your own, sacrificing your peace to sustain theirs. This dependency is no accident. Emotional manipulators feed on your energy by creating a cycle of guilt and obligation. They craft scenarios where you are made to feel responsible for their happiness. If you fail to meet their expectations, they'll express disappointment, making you question your worth. Over time, you become entangled in their web, seeking their approval and avoiding their displeasure. Their manipulation often takes the form of shifting blame. When conflicts arise, they never assume responsibility, but instead project their faults onto you. They accuse you of being selfish or unkind, even when your actions stem from a place of love. This tactic sows seeds of doubt in your mind, causing you to constantly second-guess your decisions and intentions. One of their most potent weapons is the silent treatment. When you don't comply with their wishes, they withdraw affection and communication, leaving you in a state of emotional limbo. The silence becomes unbearable, and to restore peace you find yourself apologizing for offenses you never committed. This reinforces their control, as they see your willingness to prioritize their comfort over your own. Manipulators are also skilled at playing the victim. They recount their struggles in vivid detail, ensuring you feel sympathy and a sense of duty to rescue them. Their pain becomes the center of your world, distracting you from your own needs and priorities. You may find yourself constantly pouring out support, only to receive little or nothing in return. The most damaging aspect of emotional manipulation is how it distorts your self-perception. They erode your confidence by subtly undermining your achievements or decisions. Compliments are laced with backhanded remarks, leaving you unsure of your worth. Over time, you begin to rely on their validation, believing their approval is the measure of your value. So it begins. Such manipulation is not merely a theft of joy, it is a barrier to growth. When your emotional energy is drained, you lack the strength to pursue your dreams or deepen your relationship with God. Manipulators thrive on keeping you stagnant, for your progress threatens their control. Breaking free requires discernment and courage. You must recognize their tactics for what they are, a deliberate effort to drain your spirit. Seek the Lord's wisdom, for His light exposes the darkness. Surround yourself with those who uplift and encourage, reminding you of your true worth in Christ. Finally, set firm boundaries to protect your peace. Emotional manipulators will resist your newfound strength, but stand firm. In doing so, you reclaim your joy and realign your heart with God's purpose for your life. The peace they once stole will be restored, and your spirit will soar in freedom. From sunrise to sunset there are those who demand your attention incessantly, like a relentless tide that never ebbs. These individuals seem to thrive on your availability, constantly seeking your presence, your help, and your listening ear. At first, their requests may appear innocent, an errand here, a conversation there. But over time they weave a net of unceasing demands that slowly ensnare you. The most striking characteristic of such individuals is their disregard for your personal boundaries. They act as though your time belongs to them, and any attempt to carve out moments for yourself is met with irritation or accusations of neglect. They call or text at all hours, interrupting your tasks with their urgent needs, and you feel compelled to respond out of guilt or obligation. These constant intrusions rob you of rest and reflection, both of which are essential for a balanced life. Without moments of stillness, your mind becomes cluttered, and your spirit grows weary. You lose the opportunity to connect with God in prayer, to meditate on His Word, or to simply breathe and regroup. Instead, your days are filled with noise, leaving little room for spiritual or emotional renewal. What's more, their demands are often disguised as acts of love or friendship. They might say, "I just need you for a moment," or "You're the only one I can rely on," but these moments stretch into hours, and their reliance on you grows heavier with time. Their needs always seem more urgent than your own, and you begin to feel as though your life revolves around meeting their expectations. This cycle of constant giving leads to a dangerous imbalance. As you pour out your energy to satisfy their endless requests, you neglect your own well-being. Your dreams, goals, and passions are placed on the back burner, sacrificed to maintain their approval or avoid conflict. Over time, you may begin to resent their demands, yet feel powerless to break free. The impact of these unrelenting expectations extends beyond the physical. They also affect your mental and emotional health. You may find yourself anxious, always anticipating the next interruption. The weight of their dependency can create a sense of dread, making you feel trapped and drained. Yet, despite the exhaustion, you continue to give, fearing the consequences of setting boundaries. Those who demand your time incessantly often use subtle tactics to reinforce their control. They may praise your availability, saying things like, "I don't know what I'd do without you," fostering a sense of duty. Alternatively, they may criticize you for withdrawing, accusing you of being selfish or uncaring. These strategies manipulate your emotions, ensuring their dominance over your schedule. Breaking free from this cycle requires boldness and clarity. You must recognize that your time is a gift from God, entrusted to you for His purposes. It is not a resource to be squandered on the whims of others. Reflect on how Jesus Himself often withdrew from the crowds to pray and recharge, even though many sought His attention. If the Son of God needed time alone, how much more do we? Establishing boundaries is essential for reclaiming your time. Begin by identifying the moments when you need rest, prayer, or solitude, and guard them fiercely. Communicate your boundaries lovingly but firmly, explaining that you cannot always be available. Those who truly care for you will respect your need for balance, while those who resist may reveal their unhealthy dependency. And ask, finally, Remember that your value is not determined by how much you give to others. Your worth is rooted in your identity as a child of God. By reclaiming your time and setting boundaries, you create space for growth, reflection, and deeper communion with your Creator. In this newfound freedom, you will discover the strength and clarity to live fully in alignment with His will. And guilt is a powerful and subtle tool in the hands of those who seek to control others. They wield it like a sword, cutting deep into your conscience and compelling you to act in ways that serve their interests. These individuals craft narratives that make you feel solely responsible for their happiness, manipulating your emotions to ensure their needs are always prioritized over your own. At first, their guilt-inducing tactics may seem benign. They might express disappointment when you decline their requests, saying things like, "I guess I'll just manage on my own," or "You used to care more about me." Such words sting, planting seeds of doubt and making you question whether you've failed them in some way. This emotional weight drives you to overextend yourself to avoid further disappointment. These manipulators often frame themselves as victims, highlighting their struggles and sacrifices. They remind you of everything they've done for you, intentionally or unintentionally, creating a debt in your mind. "After all I've done for you, how could you say no?" becomes a recurring refrain, one that binds your actions to their expectations. The weight of this perceived debt keeps you tethered even when their demands exceed reason. One of their most damaging tactics is their ability to make you feel selfish for prioritizing your own well-being. If you attempt to set boundaries or focus on your personal growth, they respond with phrases like, "You only think of yourself," or "I guess I don't matter to you anymore." Such statements twist your good intentions into faults, leaving you racked with guilt for simply taking care of your own needs. These guilt-driven interactions often escalate over time. What begins as subtle hints evolves into overt accusations. They blame you for their unhappiness, suggesting that your actions or lack thereof are the root of their misery. "If only you were there for me, I wouldn't feel this way," they say, shifting the responsibility for their emotions entirely onto your shoulders. However, living under this constant pressure drains your spirit and diminishes your sense of self-worth. You begin to internalize the idea that your actions are never enough, no matter how much you sacrifice. The more you strive to meet their expectations, the more they demand, creating a vicious cycle that leaves you emotionally exhausted and spiritually depleted. This form of manipulation also stifles your ability to grow and flourish. When you're consumed with meeting someone else's endless expectations, you lose sight of your own goals and dreams. Worse still, the guilt they instill often keeps you from seeking God's will for your life, as you're too preoccupied with trying to satisfy their ever-growing needs. Breaking free from guilt manipulation requires a renewed perspective and spiritual strength. First, you must recognize that you are not responsible for someone else's happiness or emotional well-being. Each person must ultimately take responsibility for their own feelings and actions. While we are called to love and support others, this does not mean sacrificing our own peace and purpose. Setting boundaries is a vital step in reclaiming your freedom. Learn to say no without guilt, trusting that God sees your heart and knows your intentions. When manipulators respond with blame or disappointment, remind yourself that their reaction is not your responsibility. Seek God's guidance in prayer, asking for wisdom and courage to stand firm in your decisions. Finally, surround yourself with those who uplift and encourage you rather than burden you with guilt. God desires for you to walk in freedom, not bondage. By breaking free from the chains of guilt, you open the door to a life of peace, joy, and purpose, fully aligned with His will. Let His truth remind you that your worth is found in Him alone, not in the expectations of others. Those who seek control over others often employ a cunning and destructive tactic. They undermine your confidence. Their words and actions are carefully crafted to erode your self-esteem, ensuring you never rise above their influence. This subtle sabotage is not always overt. Instead, it operates like a slow drip, wearing down your sense of worth over time. At first, their comments might seem like harmless jokes or constructive criticism. They may say, "You're not really good at that, but it's okay." Or, "Don't get your hopes up, you're just not cut out for it." These remarks are framed as casual observations, but their true purpose is to plant seeds of doubt in your mind. Over time, you begin to question your abilities, believing their assessments to be true. Rather than calling, manipulators often disguise their undermining behavior as concern or advice. They might say, "I'm just trying to help you," or "I don't want to see you get hurt." While their words appear caring, their underlying message is clear. You're not capable of succeeding without their input or approval. This creates a dependence on their guidance, further cementing their control over your decisions. Another common tactic is comparison. They frequently hold you up against others, highlighting how someone else is more skilled, attractive, or accomplished. "Why can't you be more like them?" they might ask, implying that you fall short in some way. These comparisons chip away at your self-worth, making you feel as though you will never measure up. Manipulators also take advantage of your mistakes and weaknesses. Instead of offering grace or encouragement, they magnify your failures, reminding you of them at every opportunity. "Remember when you messed up last time? What makes you think this will be any different?" Such remarks keep you bound to a narrative of inadequacy, stifling your courage to try again. Perhaps the most damaging aspect of this behavior is how it distorts your self-perception. Over time, you internalize their negative messages, adopting them as your own beliefs. You begin to doubt your talents, question your decisions, and feel unworthy of success or love. This erosion of confidence affects every aspect of your life, from your relationships to your spiritual journey. One of the most effective tools of manipulators is isolating you from true support. They discourage relationships that could uplift and empower you, ensuring that you remain trapped in their web. This tactic is not always obvious. It often begins subtly, with seemingly innocent comments or concerns. Yet over time it creates a fortress around you, cutting you off from the people who genuinely care for your well-being. Often remove your eternal beauty from your well-being. Manipulators often target your closest relationships first. Friends, family members, or mentors who offer encouragement and wisdom. They may criticize these individuals, suggesting that they don't truly understand or care for you. "I don't think they have your best interests at heart," they might say, planting seeds of doubt about those who would otherwise strengthen you. Strangeness rocks the basis of trust, and if the believer is not held close to his friend. This isolation can also manifest through constant demands on your time. By monopolizing your schedule, manipulators leave little room for you to nurture other relationships. Invitations to spend time with others are met with guilt-inducing remarks. "You're abandoning me," or "I guess I'm not as important to you as they are." These statements aim to make you feel as though prioritizing other relationships is a betrayal. As a sacrifice, the Christian religion states these are the orders. In some cases, manipulators create conflict between you and your support network. They may twist your words or actions, misrepresenting you to others, to sow discord. Alternatively, they might provoke arguments and then play the victim, making it appear as though your relationships are fraught with tension and best avoided. Another tactic is fostering a sense of dependency. They convince you that they are the only ones who truly understand you, making you question the value of outside support. No one knows you like I do, they insist, subtly undermining your trust in others. Over time, you begin to rely solely on their counsel, cutting yourself off from alternative perspectives. Manipulators may also exploit your vulnerabilities, using them as reasons to isolate you further. If you confide in someone else or seek advice, they might accuse you of disloyalty or claim that sharing personal matters with others is dangerous. You shouldn't trust anyone but me, they warn, creating a sense of fear around external relationships. This isolation erodes your confidence and leaves you more susceptible to their control. Without the encouragement and perspective of true supporters, you begin to feel trapped and alone. The manipulator becomes the central figure in your life, and their influence grows unchecked. This dynamic fosters a cycle of dependence, where their approval becomes your sole source of validation. Moreover, being cut off from empowering relationships stifles your growth. Friends, family, and mentors often provide wisdom, accountability, and encouragement that help you thrive spiritually, emotionally, and professionally. Without these connections, your potential remains untapped, and you may struggle to discern God's will for your life. So breaking free from this isolation requires intentional action and spiritual strength. Begin by recognizing the manipulator's tactics for what they are: a deliberate effort to control you by cutting off your support. Pray for discernment and ask God to reveal the truth about your relationships. His light will expose the darkness and guide you toward the connections that He has ordained for your growth. Take practical steps to rebuild your support network. Reach out to friends, family members, or mentors you may have drifted away from. Share your journey with them and invite their wisdom and encouragement. Trust that true supporters will welcome you with open arms, offering the love and guidance you need to heal and grow. Establish boundaries with the manipulator to protect your renewed relationships. Let them know that you value the input of others and will no longer allow their discouragement to dictate your connections. Expect resistance, but stand firm in your resolve, knowing that God's desire for you is freedom and fellowship with His people. Finally, embrace the truth that you are not alone. God has placed people in your life to walk alongside you, offering the support and love you need to fulfill your purpose. By breaking free from isolation and embracing true community, you will find renewed strength, clarity, and joy, living fully in the freedom and abundance He has promised, experiencing peace and fulfillment He has promised. Some individuals in your life act as constant takers, drawing from your energy without ever pouring back into your spirit. They drain your emotional, physical, and spiritual resources, leaving you depleted and weary. Their relationship with you is one-sided. While you give and invest generously, they offer little in return, making you feel empty and undervalued. At first, their demands may seem reasonable, even necessary. They come to you for advice, comfort, or practical help, and you gladly offer your support. After all, helping others can be a joy and a calling. However, as time goes on, you begin to notice a troubling pattern. They consistently take, but seldom, if ever, reciprocate. These takers rarely check on your well-being. They're quick to share their struggles, burdens, and frustrations, expecting you to listen patiently and provide encouragement. Yet when you attempt to share your own struggles, they seem disinterested, dismissive, or entirely absent. Over time, you learn not to expect support from them, even though you continually provide it. They shorten your period of retirement, even though you continually provide it. Their presence becomes a drain on your spirit because they fail to offer the mutual care that healthy relationships require. When you interact with them, you often leave feeling more exhausted than uplifted. The joy you once found in the relationship diminishes, as their constant neediness overshadows any benefit they might bring to your life. Such relationships are emotionally taxing because they operate on an unbalanced dynamic. Healthy connections involve give and take, a mutual exchange of encouragement, love, and support. But takers tip the scales entirely in their favor, treating your energy as an endless resource for their own benefit. They thrive while you wither under the weight of their constant demands. These individuals may not even realize the harm they cause, but their actions reveal their true intentions. They seldom show gratitude for your efforts, taking your kindness for granted. Even when you go out of your way to help them, they rarely acknowledge your sacrifices. Instead, they continue to expect more, perpetuating a cycle of depletion and frustration. One of the most dangerous effects of such relationships is the spiritual toll they take. As your energy is drained, your capacity to seek God, pray, and meditate on His Word diminishes. You find yourself too weary to nurture your relationship with the Lord, and your spiritual growth stalls. This is precisely how the enemy uses these dynamics to keep you from walking in your God-given purpose. Breaking free from this pattern requires a shift in perspective and a willingness to set boundaries. First, recognize that your time, energy, and emotional capacity are valuable gifts from God. They are not meant to be squandered on relationships that bring no growth or edification. God calls you to be a good steward of these resources, and that includes protecting them from constant depletion. Begin by identifying the relationships in your life that feel one-sided. Reflect on how much you give versus how much you receive. While it's natural for seasons of life to require more giving in certain relationships, a persistent imbalance indicates an unhealthy dynamic. Pray for wisdom to discern whether these connections are draining your spirit, rather than uplifting it. Once you've identified the takers in your life, lovingly but firmly establish boundaries. Communicate your need for balance and mutual care. Let them know that while you value the relationship, you also need time and space to recharge and nurture your own spirit. Those who truly care for you will understand and respect your boundaries. Those who resist may reveal their self-centered intentions. Seek out relationships that offer reciprocal support and encouragement. Surround yourself with people who pour into your spirit, reminding you of your worth and pointing you toward God's truth. These connections will strengthen and refresh you, restoring what the takers have drained. A community of mutual edification is vital for spiritual growth and emotional well-being. Above all, lean on the Lord to fill the void left by one-sided relationships. He is your ultimate source of strength and renewal. When you feel depleted, turn to Him in prayer and seek His presence. His word promises that those who wait on Him will renew their strength, mounting up with wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Let Him replenish your spirit and guide you toward the relationships that reflect His love. And in breaking free from relationships that take without giving, you reclaim your energy, joy, and purpose. You no longer pour from an empty cup, but instead operate from the abundance that God provides. By guarding your heart and stewarding your resources wisely, you open the door to healthier, life-giving connections that honor both you and the Lord. There are people in your life who resist your growth, opposing your efforts to develop spiritually, emotionally, or intellectually. Their resistance often stems from fear, the fear of losing control over you. These individuals recognize that as you grow, you will naturally gain strength, independence, and clarity, and they dread the thought of losing their influence. Thus they work subtly, and sometimes overtly, to hinder your progress. At first, their resistance may appear as concern or skepticism. When you take steps toward personal development, they might say, "Are you sure this is the right path for you?" Or, "I'm just worried you'll get hurt." Though these comments seem well-meaning, their true intention is to plant doubt in your mind, causing you to second-guess your decision. They may also belittle your aspirations, downplaying your potential or the significance of your goals. "Why are you wasting time on that? It's not like you're going to change the world," they scoff, dismissing your dreams as foolish or unattainable. This discouragement is designed to keep you small, tethered to their sphere of influence, and dependent on their approval. Another tactic is to highlight your past failures, using them as proof that you're incapable of growth. "Remember the last time you tried something new? That didn't end well, did it?" They remind you, keeping your focus on your shortcomings rather than your potential. By chaining you to your past, they stifle your courage to pursue a better future. The same is true. Some may actively sabotage your growth by creating distractions or crises that demand your attention. When you try to dedicate time to prayer, study, or self-improvement, they suddenly need you for something urgent. "I can't do this without you," they claim, pulling you away from your priorities. These interruptions are intentional, designed to derail your progress and keep you in their orbit. Resistance to your growth can also take the form of ridicule. They mock your efforts to grow spiritually, calling you too holy or overly serious about your faith. If you seek emotional healing, they may accuse you of being too sensitive or overanalyzing everything. These jabs are meant to undermine your confidence and discourage you from pressing forward. Such individuals often isolate you from sources of inspiration and empowerment. They discourage you from seeking wise counsel, attending church, or joining communities that foster growth. "You don't need all that. You have me," they insist, keeping you reliant on their limited perspective rather than exposing you to broader, life-giving truths. Their resistance may also manifest as jealousy or resentment. As you grow, they feel threatened by your increasing strength and independence. Instead of celebrating your progress, they grow bitter, accusing you of changing too much or leaving them behind. This emotional manipulation is intended to guilt you into slowing down or reverting to old patterns. The ultimate aim of their resistance is control. They fear that your growth will empower you to set boundaries, make independent decisions, and possibly distance yourself from their influence. To maintain their grip, they create an environment where stagnation feels safer than progress. This dynamic keeps you trapped in a cycle of fear, self-doubt, and dependency. Breaking free from this resistance requires both spiritual discernment and personal resolve. First, recognize their tactics for what they are, a fear-based attempt to maintain control. Understand that your growth is not a threat to them, but a necessary step toward fulfilling God's purpose for your life. Seek His wisdom in prayer, asking for clarity and strength to navigate these challenging relationships. Set firm boundaries with those who resist your growth. Let them know that while you value the relationship, your personal development is a priority. Be clear about your goals and the steps you are taking to achieve them. Boundaries protect your time, energy, and focus, ensuring that their resistance does not derail your progress. Surround yourself with individuals who support and encourage your growth. Seek out mentors, friends, and communities that uplift and inspire you. These relationships will counteract the negative influence of those who resist your progress, providing the accountability and affirmation you need to stay the course. Remain rooted in God's Word, which is your ultimate guide and source of strength. Scripture reminds us that growth is both a command and a blessing. Philippians 1:6 assures us that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Trust in God's promises, knowing that He equips and sustains you for the journey ahead.